What's the story? Well, I'll tell you what. Last year I was in Canberra for work and Peter Dutton called me disrespectful in his own office and then asked me not to speak to the media. What happened was I was there for work, I was there with my board and some colleagues, and we weren't initially meant to meet with Peter Dutton, but I think, we'd been having really good meetings and a very friendly group of people that his team was like, this is a great photo op for you. So on our second last day, he was like scheduled in that evening. So for the next day, our last day, it was quickly scheduled in that we were gonna have a meeting with him. And it was really funny because even my boss was like, be good, be nice. And I was like, of course I will. I will be my charismatic, usual self. Yeah, and I knew as well, I was like, he's not gonna wanna hear from me, so I didn't even talk. I went into that office, I was like, nah, you men can talk. But I did have something in mind to say to either him or someone in the Liberal Party. I was going to say, with election year happening next year, really have to think about legacy and what you want your legacy to be. Because right now, the legacy of the Liberal Party is wrecking our local economy here in the Kimberley. Because in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had a thriving local economy, and that's because of CDEP. Now, CDEP means Community Development Employment Program. Right now we have CDEP, so take away the employment. But it used to be that our community could create jobs so people would be employed. And we kind of had that, we had that power, we had that real sovereignty to do that. But it was taken away from us. And I wanted to say that to him, but I wanted to say that to him in an empowering way. Like, if you do this, then that will be your legacy. And that's what people will remember you for. So yay, do it. And I also just wanted to tell him, that's what we need. That is what we thoroughly need. And so we have this meeting, and this whole time I didn't say anything because I didn't think that I needed to, and he wouldn't want to hear from someone like me. But no one in our group had said the thing about legacy that I really wanted to bring up and just kind of get their gears moving in their head about that. So on the way out, everyone has left the room, and I'm the last person in our group to leave the room. But so he's standing in his office, and so is his assistant, and I just turn around really quickly, and I was like, hey, just really quickly, I wanted to talk to you about legacy. And I was like, right now, the Howard government's legacy is wrecking our local economy, and if you reinstate it, then that'll be your legacy. Or I'm not sure I even got to that. I just said, right now, the Howard government, and he was like, that's a really disrespectful thing to say to me in my office. And it was quite aggressive the way that he said it, and he's a really tall bloke too, and I'm not big. I'm 5'6", I don't know, probably shorter. But he's 6'4" or something ridiculous. And he's like, that's a very disrespectful thing for you to say to me in my office. And I was like, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was trying to say that to you as for something if you reinstate it, then that will be your legacy. And he was like, did the Gillard government reinstate it? Did the Rudd government reinstate it? Why don't you speak to them about it? And I was like, I will speak to Labour about Labour and Liberal about Liberal, because speaking to you about each other is unproductive. And yeah, and he was like, well, you're clearly affiliated with the Labour Party. And I was like, I'm not actually affiliated with the Labour Party. I'm not affiliated with any party. I'm affiliated with what's best for my community. That is why I say this to you. And then he's like, and you don't speak for these people. He tried to say that I don't speak for these people because I'm a real fair-skinned Aboriginal. So he was thinking I wasn't even blackfellow at that point. And I was like, yes, I do. I'm a Murrawara person. That man you were speaking to that whole time is my grandfather. And so then again, he was like, ooh. That's what he said. He's like, yeah, disrespectful. What did the Gillard and Rudd government do? You don't speak for these people. You're affiliated with the Labour Party. So he's saying all of these things, but he was really quick to attack me and really wanted to attack me clearly. But that's not what I was there for. So that's why I just kept brushing it off and just continued to trying to have this conversation with him, trying to just get it in his mind that we want CDEP reinstated. And yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I'm a Murrawara person. The man you were speaking to is my grandfather. And I was like, and the reason that I say this to you is next year's election year, and if you get elected, what you need to do is reinstate CDEP in our region. And if you do, what you will be doing is reinstating our local economy. And that will be your legacy, and you will be the person to do that. And that will be your legacy, and I want that to be your legacy, and I want to help you. I want you to help us. And that's how I ended it. I don't like the man, but again, all I want is what's best for my community. And that's what I was saying to him. And because I ended like that on such a positive note, he didn't have anything else to say. All he had to say was, I have to get to my next meeting. I'm sure you did, and I'm sure you do. But then I left, but at the same time, like, I was quite shaken up. You know, he had been like quite aggressive in our conversation and like physically intimidating as well. I could like tell that, but I was just trying to have a conversation. I was trying to let him know what we needed, is essentially what I was trying to say, and give all that backstory and that context of why we needed it. And like, you know, what it was beforehand. So like we knew that it already worked. And yeah, and then I was just like really shaken up because I was like, I was there for work and I didn't want to cause any problems. I didn't want to like do anything like that. I wasn't trying to shake the boat or anything. I was just trying to have a conversation. And he called my CEO, and he called the chair of the board, and it was really funny because I was waiting for my CEO to text me, and I was like so scared. I was like, oh, he's gonna be so mad at me, or like just so upset, being like, why did you do that? We had a conversation. And all he did was send me a screenshot of our messages from the night before of me being like, yeah, I'm gonna be so good, I'm gonna be so charismatic, my usual self. And he just sent a screenshot of those messages with question marks. That was hilarious. And at that point, I was like, either I apologize profusely or I just like buckle down. And I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to act like a man. And so I sent a message back and I was like, he didn't let me finish my sentence and he chose to be offended. I can't control how people feel. So yeah, and then I was speaking to him on the phone and I was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, Peter Dutton's office had called my employers and asked them for me not to speak to the media because I think he knew how badly he handled that conversation. And I'd been like so nice and so kind even after all of the attempts of him trying to insult me. And yeah, so like, do you think he thinks about me? But yeah, the only reason I didn't and haven't spoken to the media about it is because like obviously I was there for work. And I didn't want my workplace to be impacted negatively based on my words and my actions, even though I was very well-intentioned and I had very good intentions with what I was trying to say. But yeah, Peter Dutton is like a really touchy person. He's very easily triggered, and that's what I found out. Yana.